Ed, do you want to start?
Minutes and stuff.
Oh, yes, sorry. I was gonna go straight into the numbers. I guess we should do the minutes first. All right. Any comments on the minutes from January 18th?
I did have a phrase I wanted to insert that I meant. On 92. Where it says a few towns the same size as Enfield. The point I wanted to make was that participated in the compensation study. So after that, somebody. Got it. Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments or discussion on the minutes? Anyone want to make a
I make a motion, we accept them as amended.
I second that.
all in favor? All right, minutes are approved. Barcheck.
Sponge. Where to start? I guess before we get into meat, I handed out two papers if you want to look at those. I can make an addition if you want to do it under, if we're looking at the raises, the COLA merit step. I talked to Alex Torpy from Hanover this evening, and they're on the merit step part. They do a 2% normally, but they just did a big compensation study and they're redoing theirs. So we can put 2% in there, but he said it's probably going to be more than that, 3 to 4, maybe even more for some employees. So that'll just give you across the board kind of where we're at.
Do you have a sense what they did the past couple of years? Did they match what we did the last couple of years?
Pretty close. They did a cost of living last year, and I know for DPW, he said an extra 6%
Right.
on top of that. And
Yeah, they actually had, there was one year that they had 0% increase across the board. And then the previous year, I think it was 2022, they did a one-time staff payments of 170,000, which they took completely out of undesignated funds. They have a very healthy undesignated fund balance, so. And I think that was to make up for them when they had the 0% increase that year.
well, and that's where we're at. We had a couple of years of almost nothing, and we've been trying to make up for it for a few years. So anyway, this is what I got back. We did a little research. The chief helped me just finding some of the places around here and what they were giving. So that compares to there. The 2.8% merit step that I put in there is what was in my proposed plan. That was kind of the average merit step, if you will.
You had talked 5% overall. That included step and COLA.
Yeah, I mean, it averages, if you look at those together, it's a little bit over 5, closer to 6. On average, again, I mean, some of those are the higher 20% behind people or stuff that suck up a pretty big chunk of that. And then if you see next to that 2.2 average percentage increase on the merit side, if we take those 4 people that are over 20% behind out.
Not to get into details of all these towns, but any sense what happened in Grantham, why they went up 19.5?
On their
Operating.
overall, no,
He's on
what
the
I,
summary sheet.
yeah, if we switch to that spreadsheet, I can show you.
Wrong sheet, sorry.
They do have I mean, they also gave, and I don't know what that equates to. It actually looks weird on the COLA one, but each department got 15,000 to adjust wages with Grantham. So they gave each department 15,000 over above the 3% COLA to divvy out as they please. So yeah, I don't know why they did that. The email that I put out to towns was to let me know what their operating budget was increasing. If I got any extra details, I tried to put those in there on the next page, the proposed budget increase. On the second column, the total rate with appropriations, if I didn't get any extra data, I just moved over the operating budget. So I don't know with our warrant articles or those things, it would actually go up higher than that. But if I figured if I move that over, it would give us a decent percentage, probably on the low side, but it would give you something to look at. And we put them in there. If you look at the bottom, I did take Bow and Plymouth out. They both have a negative budget increase, but if you look next to it, there was some really big reasons why. Bow had I want to say, well, it's 1.8, not 1.8 million. It was a $1.4 million settlement to Eversource that came off the books this year, which gave them a negative. And then Plymouth, they booked 1.8 million of revenue, but they don't have the expenses in this year's budget to offset. So that's really what happened there. So I did pull them out of the equation, thinking those are kind of outside the norm and would skew the numbers. Other than that, I left everything in and I gave you everybody that responded to me on the municipal managers list served with what they.
So you're stating here that the operating budget is going up 3.7, and with the two building debt service, it's 11.6.
And we can talk about that. The numbers we've been talking about is the tax rate change, which is different than the need for tax revenue. And the tax rate need changes with valuation all the time, and it could, I mean, with our reval, more than likely our tax rate is gonna go down. So we, talking with Dimitri this week, and he can talk about that a little bit more, but we really should be looking at the increase in property tax that we need to collect, which is 11.6% with the buildings and 3.7% if we take the buildings out.
And so
If we take buildings out,
if you look at this
We
sheet,
could, but we still have to pay that bill.
oh, it's 11.6.
if you look at this sheet, our general operating budget increase with with all the loans is 13.66.
Top line, yep.
Yep.
Row one.
And without both buildings is 7.2, 20.2, which is to the right. 2024 without Whitney Hall and the public safety building.
But that also includes money that we're using from undesignated fund to write off. So if you go down to that lower down where it shows the property tax revenue needed, that takes into account undesignated fund balance, changes in revenue, those types of things. Because if you're gonna spend it in your budget, you have to put it there, even if you have revenue to offset it. So it's a little bit of a misnomer on the 7.5, and the 11.6 down there is the total with the bonds, total increase to property tax need. And then I wanted to point out that if we take that bond, the bonds out that are coming on this year, not counting the part of the bond from public safety we put on last year, that the general operating budget is a 3.7% in property tax need.
So, want me to go next?
Go ahead.
So, sorry you guys don't have this. Maybe Alyssa can put it on the screen, but it's a lot of numbers. I essentially took all this, which is all the pages with all the accounts. Okay? I put them on one page. Vertical are all the accounts. You see the numbers on the left, account code and descriptions, water, steward, executive, blah, blah, blah. And then there's essentially four groups. There's wages, which includes full-time, part-time, overtime, stipends, all that. There's non-wage labor cost, which I view as FICA, health insurance, dental insurance, all that. Then I call out what I call non-labor. Casella, right? Salt,
Operating.
utilities, right? And then debt. Make sense?
Yep.
Right. I collect all those for all those accounts. So if you wanted to know, for example, DPW, right? You can go to the DPW line and you can see 2023 to 24 wages, 811 to 841. Non-labor 791 to 804, make 805, make sense?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So-
And your 2023 column is budget, not actual.
Budget. So. oh, can you- is that fixed?
Your screen sharing.
Alright, so, but, so it's budget to budget. Okay, 23 to 24. If you go down where it says general operating and general operating with that.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go right, the bold numbers will match what Alyssa has on this sheet.
Mhm.
So we've cross-referenced that all the accounts match horizontal and all the sums match vertical. Make sense?
Yes.
So what this now allows us to do, because we now have 4 categories, we can kind of look at how are all the wage costs increasing across the town. All the wage costs, not just the least, but like all of them. And when I say all, it's full-time, part-time, overtime, all of them. Across the whole town, including water and sewer, it goes up $75,000 for a percentage increase of 2.77. See that?
Mhm.
Now, if you go over one more, now you're on the non-wage labor associated cost. That goes up 176,000 for a total of 12.6. Right? Go over the, what did you call it, operating
Mhm.
costs?
Yeah.
Those go up 460,000 for a total of 13.5. And then the loan across all accounts goes up 493 for a total of 72% increase. Make sense?
It does.
Mhm.
Okay. So now the total increase, and my number's off $10,000 because Alyssa here has this 10,000 here. That 10,000 also appears in all these numbers,
Right.
so that's why it's off.
The benefits.
So the general funds, now taking water and sewer out, the general fund is going up 894,000. Okay. Of that, 70,000 general fund, water and sewer removed. 70,000 is labor cost, wages. 168 is benefits. Of that 168, 158 is health insurance. Operating goes up 226, 227. 97,000 due to Casella. Cat Street 75, utilities 30, everything else 25. For the public meeting, I plan to break that out more, which means you'll see big cost increases, but then the everything else will be negative, which means there's been savings in other areas. Make sense? The debt increase is 428. Whitney Hall is 321, public safety building is 117, and so the sum of that exceeds the 428, which means the other debt stuff came down by 10,000.
Yeah.
Makes sense? So I plan to, I'll work with that to figure out which ones we're gonna do, but for the public hearing in 2 weeks, we'll break out the operating one more, because I felt on the debt side, we've accounted for all the big ones because everything else is negative, right?
Mhm.
On the benefits, we've accounted for over 90%, right? The rest is small. So we wanted to break out the operating one more, to give people an idea, where's the money going?
Right.
Make sense? So, big number, but 50% is the 2 buildings. 70% is the 2 buildings plus health insurance.
And we did have a 15.6% increase in health insurance, which makes up a large part of that.
And I rambled off a lot of numbers, but the ones we were talking about, I don't know how long that's been up, is essentially the increased breakdowns right there.
Have you looked at, have you attempted to negotiate with the health insurance and benefits or look at other?
We looked at it, you're not gonna negotiate with Health Trust, which is the statewide encompassing one, we can look outside. It's
What does the
okay
town have?
sometimes, but it usually goes down the first year and then it spikes up. We've done that a few times. We went to Harvard Pilgrim in Claremont. It went down and then it shot up past what Health Trust was, and Health
So-
Trust is for government employees, ran by government employees, and they usually keep it pretty competitive.
So do you offer different plans to the employees or do you just have one? Cause I know when Lebanon went, from offering multiple plans to the Luminos, a high deductible, and then started off with an HSA, which they funded for a couple of years and then that went away, saved significantly.
Yeah.
On the,
Which plan are we on?
It's AB20, it's an HMO.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then we do have an HRA to help with emergency room deductibles and a few of those things.
Yeah.
So we can definitely look into that a little more, look at the Luminos plan we were looking
yeah,
at.
cause
that
I
in
know
Claremont.
quite a few towns that had switched over to the Luminos
Mhm.
and it was significant cost savings to the taxpayers.
And with the
And-
HRA
and
part of that,
employees.
to show you guys, even if you keep the HRA, most employees don't use their deductible and that HRA falls back to the town. So it really gives them a pretty good health insurance plan
Mhm.
while saving the town some money. So that's something we can look into in the next year or so.
Did the Luminos stay cheaper or did it do like Ed was saying?
It's
spike
No.
like a while?
It's still part of
It
health
still goes
trust,
up, right,
but it's the high deductible plan. Your deductible's up in the $10,000 range per family. But like she said, if you put the HRA there
Right.
to do it, most of your families won't use that high deductible and
right. And theirs was set up that each employee got their own HSA, so it wasn't, the money didn't go back to
Yeah.
the city, it stayed.
I
and
did
then
that
they
in
could
Weathersfield.
increase
It was
that.
preferred
They
to
could
set up
carry
an
it over.
HSA.
That's what the employee.
Cause ours is an HRA, not
Yeah.
an
And then HSA.
So HRA saves the town more money. The HSA is a great thing for the employees because they get a build a savings account for healthcare.
Right,
And it is a good way if you're gonna back off your contribution into the HSA.
right.
The HSA is a little better because they can build a little bit of a nest egg to cover that.
Dimitri, I just have to say, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. job.
This is, I mean, I can't imagine the work that went into this.
I plan to do
It,
it. Once you get used to it.
Well,
Yeah.
it starts to make sense when you look at it, that where it is, it's not where you think it is.
Right.
It's big things that jump at you.
Right, and all the data is
Yeah.
in this, so it's not cherry picking line items.
There's no money in recycling anymore, so Casella needs to get their money back.
Yeah, solid waste is a big one.
And
Okay.
so,
Insurance was a
And
big one.
healthcare. Healthcare has always been
Mhm.
so what
a
I,
driver.
yeah, so I essentially looked at the total change once. And
Yeah.
looked at all the big ones, and so.
Yeah.
You know, the 400 is big, well, that's the debt, the 168 is big, that's the health insurance, the 106 is big, that's the Casella.
Yeah,
You know, the,
you're
And
right.
then-
That's 70% of your cost is right in those three pieces.
Did you do the percentage of each line, the percentage of the total budget of each line? Well, not the percentage changes, but
I did not do that, I can add that.
that's a simple.
I only did the percentage one for the increase, which is the same on the screen there, where it's
Yeah.
so 107.8 and all that. I can do that.
Might be nice to have that as a,
Even if you just got it in your pocket. See, I wouldn't try putting it on.
I wouldn't mention it, but
Just
just
like,
the
I
point,
just
just to
mentioned.
see. Well, half of our $6 million is
Right.
wages.
Right.
Or whatever it is.
So,
And then one other, not to jump away from you.
no, it's just,
I say one other thing that I did do that's in the new numbers of the 11.6 was I added the Shed Street property from undesignated fund balance, which is the $75,000.
Yeah.
Which brings the total from undesignated fund for this year was 175,500, which is still less than we're planning on dropping in to fund balance, but it brings that tax rate down a little bit.
Right, but on the backside, though, you do include another 100,000 for the tax rate. So the total coming out of undesignated is actually 270,
275.
Plus 46.9 for the CIP.
is going up, going back.
From unassigned fund balance. We go into the CIP fund.
Right, so,
That's the
Because we were owed
insurance money we received.
right, so essentially all of your estimated fund balance is gonna get used.
It's gonna come back out, yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, you guys can talk about, but I think these are the types of years of why you build a fund balance.
Oh, and the 75,000 in theory, we're gonna get back when we sell the property. In new tax revenue.
Yeah,
Yes.
you will do that. Okay, I agree with you there.
Right, and so I wanna add another comment. It's not possible to predict what will happen in future years, right? But the loans will be fully on the book. So there's not gonna be another $400,000 increase for the loans.
Yeah.
Casella is a 5-year contract, so that is staying the same. for
There'll
the next-
be small incremental
Right.
increases, but not a
Not
large.
a big jump.
like that.
Shed Street will go away because it will be done. And so I would hope health insurance doesn't go up another 25%, but can't predict that. So next year shouldn't look nearly as bad.
The,
Shouldn't see as big an increase, you mean?
Not as big of an increase.
But still an increase on 3 big increases the past 3 years,
Right,
Yeah.
but not another double digit.
compound.
and you're not making up for the undesignated fund balance that we use to reduce the rate too, right?
Right, so you may lose that one.
Right.
That
Yeah,
is year
you
by
may.
year.
You may.
You may.
Mhm.
You know, I think we were careful except for that 100,000, and that's something to talk about. That's kicking the can. That buying down the tax
Yes.
rate is kicking the can,
I
putting
agree.
that tax rate into next year's tax rate. I'm not against it. I proposed it, but, you know, just trying to smooth this one a little bit, but all the rest of that fund balance use is one-time projects that,
Yeah,
not that we won't have other one-time projects, but
It's 11.6% is not the tax rate, right? It's the percentage.
that's the
increase.
municipal tax rate, tax need increase.
Yeah, the increase.
You know, last
Then-
year we proposed a 16.8 and it ended up, what, 5.6 or 5 point
So,
something was the total tax rate increase.
so the school district is 3.2.
right.
That's the budget though,
That's
it's not
their
their
increase,
tax
right?
rate, so. but
Well,
yeah,
that's
their
the
budget
budget.
is
That's their
So
budget.
at the end of the day, my
But
point,
It's
budget
also a
increase.
budget year for them where there are no new contracts.
Mhm.
It's not, it's going 3.2 plus there's a teacher's contract that's going to add no $350,000 to it. That's it.
Yeah.
And everything, well, and anything that's not in the warrant has to come back to us from them also, which this year is $340,000 is coming back to the town.
So-
Question at one point. Oh, over here.
Um,
You still have a question?
I did have a question, if you don't mind. A question towards Dan. I thought we put the Shed Street $75,000 remainder in the CIP, Dan.
No, you
No,
cannot use CIP for.
can't use CIP for that.
You asked that and we asked the
Right.
attorney and he said no.
No.
Cause
We-
it's for investment in the town, not for something you're gonna say.
Investment.
We put it, no, we put it into the plan, but it was as if we were gonna be used as designated fund to pay for it, not the CIP fund.
So it's in the plan, it's
Right.
not in the fund.
It's not coming out of the fund, it's coming out of undesignated on our thing also.
Thank you.
so comment I wanted to make, so the way the numbers are now, what we would raise from taxes increases 11%, right? 11.6. The town is going up, the school is going up 3.2 in their budget. those two numbers, along with the state numbers, are gonna determine what the increase is for the people in the town. It's gonna be somewhere in between that, right? We don't really know where, depending on the size of the pies. But I've gotten emails, I've seen things on listserv about 15% increases, 18% increases. That is not correct, because like for the town, if your total amount you're collecting is increasing 11.6%, and your valuation is staying the same and nothing else changes, right? Your bill should be 11.6% bigger, because otherwise the town would be collecting too much money,
On the town side.
right, on the
Okay.
town side.
I was gonna say your taxes won't go up that much.
Right, so your tax bill, there's a reevaluation happening across the whole town, right? So for a second, assume your slice of the pie is staying the same. It doesn't get any bigger or smaller compared to everybody else. The cost of the pie is going up 11.6 in absolute dollars, which means your slice cost would go up 11.6 in absolute dollars for the town side. Then there's a school side, right? Different pie, much bigger pie. That one is going up 3.2. If your slice stays the same, that goes up 3.2. And so your whole bill will not go up 15% or 18 or 11. It's going to be a smaller number.
3.2.
county.
Plus county and state. And so if I be careful what I say. If I look at ratios of, what fraction is the town to what fraction is the school in past bills, and I project what it would do to us with this 11.6 and the 3.2, my gut feeling is it's going to be around 6%.
That's what
So-
we projected.
So if your bill today is $10,000, next year it would be 10,600 if your pie is staying the same.
Yeah, we projected using the 3.2 as a rate increase, which it's not, it doesn't equate that way, but doing that, it's about 6.4 total. I think it'll be closer to 6, like you said.
What's the school district trying to raise in taxes? Trying to make that a simple question.
I don't have to know.
Their total budget's 30 million. But I don't know what the state piece of that is.
And what our piece of that is, because that's the budget for the whole Mascoma district, not what Enfield is responsible for.
Right.
I think we've got like 60% of it.
No. Yeah, closer to, I don't know what we are this year. We were
That's
around
fine.
42. We were around 42%.
It's bigger than
It's the largest, but it's about 42%.
Canaan is close.
Canaan is close. The other 4 are small.
We'll split like 20%. Maybe that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Yes,
It's not
that
just
3.2% is calculated on roughly 3 times as large a number though.
Right.
Yeah, but 3 times as large a number. Well, is it?
It's about
Yeah.
that.
Give or take.
Give or take, close enough.
Okay. Yeah, so that's how you get to about 6.
Like we said, last year, we projected 16.8 municipal, it ended up 15.9 when we got through DRA. And the overall increase to the town tax rate, or the total town tax rate, was under 6%.
So that's what the people feel is that's a little slightly under 6%. They see an increase in their
Right.
bottom, in their bill. If they don't want to do all the math and figure out which portion of this goes where.
Depending on
What they know
valuations
is-
and things, because as valuations change on your place and other places, the pie moves around a little bit, but yeah, overall, that's.
Plus water and sewer.
So I think what you're seeing on the listserv is people who don't.
Right.
I mean, they're thinking it's gonna go up 18%
Right.
of their whole bill.
Well, they're also thinking that their water and sewer is going up by 14%, when in fact, it's going up by 7%.
Right.
Just because you have 7% water and 7% sewer doesn't mean your bill's going up by 14%. It means it's going up by 7% of what you're paying now.
Yeah, each one is going up 7%, which
Right.
is not necessarily 14.
Right.
It's your total bill.
It's your total bill that's going up.
If you have water and sewer.
If you have water and sewer,
both.
right.
Which reminds me, when do we schedule to have our septics pumped by the town service? Is that,
So,
I'll get you a water sewer bill. Might be able to make that happen.
that's gonna be a long extension.
No, I won't get you water
Makes
sewer.
sense.
We'll
Just
just get
the
it
bill.
pumped and I'll
Makes
give you a
sense.
bill.
Okay.
no magic bullet though.
That's what I mean. There's nothing magic to it. Just it puts a lot of things in perspective, but
I did want to clarify one other thing as we're clarifying. I've heard some ramblings, but if you look at recreation under personnel, some people are looking at that thinking that the recreation director's salary is going up by $21,000. That's not the case. But we have multiple employees, lifeguards and camp counselors and all kinds of people in recreation. Recreation director is slated under my proposal to get a raise of approximately $3,800. The rest of that is all the other personnel. And a big chunk of that is our basic camp counselors, lifeguards, those people were at like $8 an hour and we moved everybody up to at least $15 an hour. Five Guys' starting salary is over $18 an hour now.
McDonald's is 18 right now. And
It is a large increase though in the column.
It shows.
It's a, yeah,
Yeah.
but I just wanted
Very
to
large.
make sure you know that
23%.
wasn't going to one person.
And some of it, remember, we had that discussion, so recreation is going up, but we also expect more revenue coming in because the program is.
That is another thing that I wrote down, that with youth sports starting, we're expecting revenue to come in to offset the salary of $9,300. So if his salary is going up 3.8 and we're bringing in 9.3, it's not because we're charging them more, it's because a big portion of, or a portion of his time, not a big portion of his time is gonna be used on that, and we just multiplied that out for the cost, and then we're asking for that from the other town.
Are we definitely taking it over?
I believe so. I mean, we have to move forward to try it.
Get somebody else to divvy up.
We'll get it. We'll either get it from them or we'll get it from the people that register from there. One of the two. I don't wanna have to
That
charge
used to be a
that.
program that was shared with Canaan, is that right?
Well, youth sports is all 5 towns and it has been. So I went to 3 of the other 4 towns. I didn't make it to Dorchester, but I've made the request to them.
So so again, looking at big movers, right? So recreation is one, DPW is one in absolute dollars, but percentages is low,
Right.
right? Then another big mover is in this fall. Oh man, I wish I had put lines on my.
Yes. I see that.
Sorry. So another big mover is elections registrations and vital statistics. However, that's
We know about
because-
that.
Because we moved people around.
Well, no, we got 4 elections.
And
Yeah.
4 elections.
But that's
Instead of
small.
one.
That's a couple of $1,000s. The reason it's moving is
Right.
because people were moved from one account to another. And that's why in some other areas you see negatives.
Yeah.
Because they came off that account in 23 they were in one place, and 24 they're booked somewhere else.
Yeah.
Why did finance jump so much?
Part of the reason too was, I believe,
Microsoft upgrade's the big one. It's another place you could take some undesignated fund, but as we said, we're pretty much right there. But we have a $30,000 Microsoft upgrade to move to the Microsoft government, which is a security issue that we need to move to. So
Yes.
it's gonna be a pricey move. It is a one-time move, and then we'll have some ongoing fees, but we're paying ongoing fees now. We don't expect them to be much different. Most of it's the migration over.
Yeah.
The police have to move. There's a Department of Justice thing, because it keeps all their information within the continental United States, but if we do it for police and not for the rest of the town, then we have to have two different domain names and different email addresses, and so it's a security thing for the town as well, so we decided if we're gonna do it, let's just move everybody over and be done, and we can keep our same addresses and everything.
Next year I will color each line, like light gray, white, light gray, white,
Just put in the grid.
or put in the grid.
Yep.
In my Excel file, it's.
But that's okay. You did a lot of work.
Yes.
Just because you missed the line.
So that
I'm
was
not
the
gonna
big,
go
I
after
did
you.
break that down in finance, it's the $30,000 Microsoft, and then
Yeah.
$7,000 worth of cost for the reevaluation.
Okay.
Dimitri, your total change columns,
Yes, which one?
there's a percentage column. Is that a percentage of the,
So for example, if you look at the first line, which is water, right? We went from 300 to 390, the change is 89.
Yep.
9, and that's a 29.9% increase.
for
from
that
three-
line?
For that line from 300 to 390.
Gotcha.
Right.
And what was the difference between wage and non-wage?
So wage labor is what people get for
You
take
talking,
home pay, non-wage labor, I meant was like
hourly
FICA,
versus
health and benefit. I should have called it benefits,
Yeah.
but it's really benefits and taxes and a whole bunch of other stuff. Workers' comp,
they call that indirect compensation?
No, they
Correct.
call them benefits, actually. They all are.
Well,
considered- even though it's a
to here-
tax, it's considered benefits because it's a benefit to the employee.
true, so it includes FICA, Medicare, education reimbursement, unemployment compensation, worker comp, new hire physical, drug and alcohol testing, health insurance, dental insurance, life and disability insurance, employer paid NHRS, not sure what that is, employer
right
paid
there.
ICMA, and then trust expenses, HRA administration fees and things like that.
Yeah, so benefits.
I know.
Make a note,
Change it when
change
you
that.
make-
I'll
That confused us too.
Change
for a
it to
while.
benefits.
I'll change it to that.
But it was like, oh.
Yeah.
What did you call the one I called non-labor?
Benefits.
Operating?
Oh, operating, yeah.
Yes.
Non-labor is operating,
Operating expenses.
operating expense
See,
or general expenses,
That's like
How you want.
supplies, equipment,
Yeah.
repairs,
What it
contracts,
takes to run your project,
maintenance.
Yes.
other than people.
Right.
the suckers. Bags of Werthers, staple. So where are we?
Ready for a public hearing, I think.
So the general sense is that my tax bill will go up by somewhere around 6% total. And that the town portion of my tax bill will go up by 11.6 roughly. And that of that, what is it, about 3% is due to the new buildings?
No, off that.
Of that 11.6, how much is due to the new buildings? So,
No,
No.
no, recycle.
Almost 400,000 of the total, so.
5.6% of the
Right.
11.6 is the new buildings.
So half, give or take.
Half.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, some of that's, yeah, that's right. I didn't have that in. No, that's in the 3.7.
5 point what, Dimitri?
6.
5.6.
Actually, yeah, you're correct. It's a little bit less than that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, but a small amount, because the CIP is only going up a small amount.
so what is it roughly? Still good?
Hold on. I'll
No,
get
that's
it.
good, that's good enough.
I'll
It's
get
close,
it.
it's close enough for discussion. You don't
Yeah.
need to get
Yeah.
into that.
Sounded like you were changing it.
Essentially of the operating budget increase, the buildings are 48%.
Of the total.
Health insurance is 18%. Casella is 11%.
Of the increase.
Of the total increase.
Of the total increase in the operating budget. The buildings.
Yep.
Casella and health insurance are.
Three quarters.
76% of the increase in the operating is those three things. Buildings, health insurance, and Casella. Everything else is 24%. If you add Chet Street to it, you're at. 76 and 8, 84%. I think we have to do Shred Street
No easy answers.
and
Let's say
Um,
Front Street's under contract.
I know,
Right.
but we have to
Those are
finish it.
safety buildings.
We have to finish it. And then so another one. It's my understanding that while Casella has gone up a lot, it is still cheaper to have the town take care of your trash than you going at it alone and taking trash out of the town budget.
I wonder why Hanover and Lebanon stopped doing it.
Stop doing more.
Well, Lebanon didn't.
Street
stop.
pickup.
Yeah, they never did.
They never did
They
it.
never did it.
Oh, they never did it.
No,
Never
We
did.
lived there a long
Lebanon
time.
never
They
did.
never did.
No, and they've got the landfill that's self-sustaining, so.
An advantage for sure.
Mhm.
And so,
Although it has its issues.
and so also saying, hey, let's not have the pickup anymore, doesn't solve the problem either, because now the transfer station would be way too small. You would have to make that bigger. That I don't think,
And you increase the
People-
staff.
and increase the staff, and so I don't think that's any
Parking
cheaper.
costs and everything else that's associated.
And a major environmental hassle.
Mhm.
And so it,
That's what hazard.
what was it, $22 a month per household for us to take care of your trash? I don't see that going any cheaper, even though it gets more expensive, it's still cheap.
The 22 includes the transfer station, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, it's for both.
so you're not gonna save that. You're not gonna save a big portion just because you're not doing street pickup, because you're still gonna pay the tipping fee.
Yes.
Just for some context, one of my officers lives in Lebanon. He pays over $100 a month to Casella for
Yeah.
trash pickup.
I don't know what the percentage is now, but when we lived there, 20 or so years ago, most people took it themselves to the
Right.
landfill. Our whole neighbor did,
Yeah.
or did.
Right.
And you never saw any, businesses picking it up.
Right.
Very few,
But they've got the transfer station, they've got the
It's close by.
landfill, so they don't have to,
right.
they're not trucking anything. You're trucking
That's
for
the
them.
difference.
And we know that when we pick it up, we also aren't cleaning out our ditches as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Because people aren't going to the landfill and they're just dumping beside the road.
Right,
And not to debate it too long, but if you've seen the line over there, how much is your time worth?
right.
Mhm.
I still think we should look at the separation of glass.
Yeah.
You know, over the next year, because that's gonna be some savings. That's still a good discussion.
Is that a number, Jim, that you think Casella could get us of about how much glass they think we have in our recycling?
Yeah, definitely. Yep, I'll ask about that.
Yeah, let's see what that is and then what the tipping fee would be if it was in the trash side instead of the
Yes.
recycling side, and then we can tell about how much.
That's gonna irritate some people, of course, who are gonna say that the town is backing away from the whole concept of recycling.
Yeah, I think we need to know how much, and then we can
Right.
have that political discussion is that worth the cost saving? Because it may not be as big as we think it's gonna be once because we're still gonna pay to get rid of it. It's just gonna be cheaper
Right.
to get rid of it. And what is that
Yeah,
cost?
it isn't like you're taking it out of the waste stream completely and
Right.
you're just paying a lesser rate on it.
We can probably estimate perhaps, give me seconds. What?
You know how much
You got
glass
the
we're
amount of
throwing
glass in there too?
No,
Okay.
but we have tipping costs in there.
Yeah, but you have to know how much weight the glass.
Right.
Right, how
I
much
know,
it
but
is.
so here, landfill costs are 145, right? Recycling processing costs are 90.
That's, you know what the
So-
weight is.
So how much of weight of glass are we putting in recycling?
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
You have to know that number to,
But like, we're not, so here, I'll put it differently, we're not gonna save $50,000.
No,
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 Well,
no.
you'll probably save about half of that. I mean, your glass
That's what I
is your
figured.
weight, cardboard, paper, that weighs nothing.
Well, yeah, but
And it's all based on weight.
I don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of quantity of glass compared to my rest of the recycling either. I mean, it might be 3%. It's glass.
With the increase in the tipping fees at Lebanon, the numbers have come close together.
Right.
With the recycling processing versus the thing. So this,
Right.
the effect was huge a couple years
So-
ago, but
Right, but it's
It-
not
now it's
today.
here,
coming together.
I don't think it's gonna be all that
If,
much.
if the savings are $25,000, right? People would save 4 pennies per year per $1,000 in evaluation.
Pennies add up, man.
What we've been spending on CIP.
That's not even,
So,
right.
You- yeah.
The addition to CIP is a nickel at 26,000, so.
So we should just give the CIP committee all of our glass?
We'll recycle it for you.
Don't take that deal.
long story short, I think there's, other than rewinding the clock and doing one building 10 years before the other, there's no magic bullets
Could have done that.
changing it.
Too late now.
So. Questions from anybody?
Public comments.
Public comment? Yes.
assuming you use the undesignated fund balance as suggested, what percentage do we remain at in terms of the future undesignated fund balance?
I was going to ask that question to the town to include in the budget presentation for the public hearing.
We'll add it. We're probably we didn't run the numbers, but it'll be in that probably 10 to 11.
10 to 11, so we're very close to the perfect 12.
Yeah, we were just under 12 last year and we're pretty much writing it off, but budgets went up and that changes it. So I'd say we're probably in that 10 to 12 range, but
We're right where we want to be in terms of the projections of 10 to 18% that that accounting recommends.
yeah, and with our goal of 12. Like I said, we talk about it being an emergency fund, but it really is for things like this too. When we know there's a larger than normal tax increase in the bonds, we can use that to write it down, rebuild it a little bit and keep moving forward.
So the only thing for this committee to perhaps confirm is the decision of some of the undesignated fund balance being as a tax alleviator forward of $100,000.
Yeah, the $100,000 tax buy down, kicking the can to next year, because that will add a few percent in the next year's tax rate. Just making that decision this year.
But we did take 111,000 on Monday night and kicked it back towards the CIP for potential use.
Right.
I don't think anybody's gonna be too upset about pushing some of this tax increase down to next year.
Well, it depends on next year.
Next year they get
Right.
If this happens again next year,
Right, but next year we shouldn't see a
Yeah,
$430,000 increase in that because I would assume people want to keep their building.
so we know what's causing this bump. We also know that there isn't anything scheduled to cause such a bump next year.
what caused, last year bump, the
Same.
Whitney Hall?
Public safety building,
Public
the
safety.
majority of it, a little
Yeah.
bit of it going on this
So-
year and then Whitney Hall.
So this year,
Yeah.
the increase is 429. Of the 429, 321 is from Whitney Hall. And only 118 is from the public safety building because the other part of the public safety building hit last year.
So does that mean next year that there'll be zero debt service? No, it just won't increase.
It just
the debt
won't
service.
increase.
So it's in there.
It's in there, but it won't increase.
But there'd be 100,000 that
It'll
was
stay
paid off
in there
this
for
year.
20 to 30 years.
That has to go to
No
next
problem.
year.
So
Well,
that's why I
no,
say we
the
know
other,
it's not
the other
gonna-
thing is, there's normally increase to the undesignated every year because you have, salary isn't big on this, but salary in total is big and you have empty slots.
So is there anything we can think of reasonably that would give us a $500,000 hit next year?
A major storm,
Yeah, if there's major
Yeah.
storm damage,
a major storm.
something that we don't expect.
But and I think, not that we want to drain our undesignated fund, but I think those are the times you look at those things that they.
But the offset to the major storm is if it's a major storm, it's gonna be FEMA.
Yeah, 3 years
Take
later.
care of it.
3 years
I
later.
agree, it's 3 years later.
It
If
depends.
he works, spends 50% of his time with, trying to get the money.
It depends what it is, because
Right,
from last December, we've already got paid.
right.
So they're
Really?
getting faster and better, but some of those big storms.
Big
take
storms,
some time.
takes time.
I can tell you as the emergency management director, that our average turnaround time with FEMA right now is about 8 months till we get paid back. Now, obviously, something huge might take a little bit
Right.
longer, but the system doesn't drag like.
Right, yeah, the other side of that though is when Orange, it took Orange 2.5 years. And they had to take out a loan in order to
For their washout.
pay, when Cardigan Mountain Road went away.
We had one that took 3 years and that was because
Yeah.
we waited almost 2 years. 2 years for the Army Corps of Engineers to get us a permit.
That's exactly what their problem was.
Other barring a
Yeah.
a specific unique situation, something like that isn't like
Right.
it used to be. The old system,
Oh, yeah,
it definitely was. The new system, it's they moving, me and Jim. work-
well, they're using it more.
That's it too, so.
Yeah,
But
And I'll toot their horn for them. They're pretty good. Before the storm's over, we have numbers to FEMA.
Yeah.
almost. I mean,
oh, yeah.
we're getting good at tracking it and we get our
Yeah.
numbers in right away.
Also to remember that in 25 and perhaps late 24, you'll be able to liquidate, certain infrastructure within the town. You can
Right,
get rid of, Depot Street once the land situation is resolved. You've got the fire station. That's obviously in 25, once the new building is completed. But you've also got the possibility of some money coming in from Shed Street, not a lot, but some.
Yeah.
And then you have each of those properties contributing to the tax roll, and they haven't done before.
probably Methodist Hill too.
Well, Methodist still pays bills that have already been paid.
Something will happen there.
Right, something's gonna happen there.
Other questions, comments?
There's any
Um,
other business.
Yes, well, so presentation wise, I'm essentially planning to do the same format as last year, update it. I'll provide more breakdown compared to last year and where the money goes now that I have this. To be a little bit more dollars based and where the money goes and why. But other than that, it's the same format as last year, and then, I'll probably send it around to everybody in the committee, give input. I'll BCC people, So people don't do reply all and we have a meeting online. And then once that input is included, it will go to them.
So we can help you with a slide on
Yep.
the tax rate stuff if you want to show
So,
municipal portion. We can break down last year's, which will be a great example.
and then we don't vote on the budget until after the hearing, right? Okay. Are we gonna have language for the warrant article at the hearing?
Gentle language.
Okay,
The warrant article language will be the same as last year, but with a different amount from unassigned fund balance.
okay, that's just it.
And
Yeah.
different amount for the total, right? And different budget number.
Yes.
Different budget number.
Anything else?
Have the concerned citizens from Enfield gotten their budget articles? Did they get their warrant articles?
They turn their petitions in today.
Did they? So those will be voted on also.
Probably, yeah, they'll be ran through Bill and then we'll get moving forward.
When are the petitions for the warrant article due? Is that? What date are they due?
On the 6th.
They've turned theirs in already.
Yes.
We've gotten at least some of them.
When will those be available for us to look at and see what they are proposing?
We can put that together, send it out.
I think, Dimitri, you had a list as we were going through things of put that on the slide, put that on the slide.
Right, so
Right.
I'll work with them to get that, but like, one was what, $180,000 for the truck?
Mhm.
I don't know what else there was.
But there was a group of them, about 5 or 6 things done. I probably can,
Yeah,
think I
can you
will.
dig those up and email them? to me?
yeah, maybe. I know that was one of them.
Right.
And I think, was one of them, boy, when we were talking about, some people had the impression that, we were gonna get all these grants. I think one of them was the number that we actually got, and then you had talked about the one where we got darn close.
Yeah.
And that was a big hunk of money. And I feel like public needs to know it isn't, you don't always get awarded the grant, but we're being aggressive about trying to get them. I
So we've
think
been
that's
working
important.
on that. We can try to get that done on what we applied for, and what we actually received last year, not only for the buildings, but.
Right.
for-
Oh, should that be in the budget report or should that be in the town report?
Well, we don't really have a slide and report,
Okay,
Yeah.
so I can
so
stick it
if
in
we wanna
mine.
put it in there just to show that we're
Right.
working on trying to save money in that
I'll-
way.
Have no problem with that.
We'll make it a pretty simple slide.
Okay. Anything else?
Make motion, we adjourn?
Oh, Tracy?
Just a comment that I believe this committee should hold their heads high on this report.
I think
And I'm-
Dimitri should.
And Dimitri should,
I
but
think
also the
Dimitri really
information
should.
you brought tonight on those 2 sheets, that was very helpful.
He's better than that.
And one final question, it sounded like a great presentation, but without the spreadsheets to look at and follow the numbers.
Yep.
As a member of the general public, it's very difficult. Is that report available,
I
to
can
the
give you one.
general public?
I can give you one.
Good, thank you.
All work product of the committee is available to the general public.
And it's simply those who end up getting this big one sheet with all the numbers is simply summarizing all these pages that are just going line by line. When you look at this, 70, 80 pages, it's overwhelming.
That was pretty good. Overwhelming. Who doesn't do numbers in accounting?
So, but this kind of summarizes it.
I have a motion, we need a second, I think.
I'll
Yes.
second that.
Second. Meeting adjourned. Oh, sorry, hold on. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Yes.
Did you import the main budget and then tweak it, or did they give it to you in spreadsheet?
How many times you bet on it?
I did it 3 times
Except my name.
to check for mistakes until everything matched.
See,
A lot of money.
how about emails, I haven't seen a single commenting about that.